Good morning, children. Welcome to the session. We are discussing English subject for 9th standard. That is lesson 4th lesson. We are discussing the portrait of a lady written by Khushwant Singh. So this period is the second session. So in the last period, in the previous period, we have discussed note about the author and also warm-up activity, and also we have discussed the first paragraph. Listen, children. Now today in this session we will continue the lesson. So second paragraph we are going to discuss. So take out your textbook, follow the lines what I am going to read and explain. Okay, children. So second paragraph. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. So here she means who? Grandmother. That is Khushwant Singh's grandmother. Author's grandmother had always been short and fat and slightly bent. As usual, when we became old, so our backbone is going to be bent. So like that, she also slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. So when we got old, so we are going to observe some of the wrinkles on the skin. So face on face also we are going to observe wrinkles. So like similarly, wrinkles are running from everywhere to everywhere on the face of the author's grandmother. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her, old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. So, no, we were certain she had always been as we had known her, old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. This line suggests that from 20 years, author is observing his grandmother, that his grandmother was looking same. So for 20 years, she appeared to the author as it is, same, as she was at the same age. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop and the other telling the beads of her rosary. So, she hobbled about the house in spotless white with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop. So, she was so old that she is going to be putting her hand on the waist to balance herself, and on the other hand she is holding beads of rosary. That is, old people usually going to praying, chanting, just like she is handling rosary. That is beads of rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face. So, here, puckered face means tightly gathered or contracted into wrinkles or small folds. The puckered adjective is given in your glossary. The meaning tightly gathered or contracted into wrinkles or small folds. That is her pale, puckered, wrinkled face and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. So, on the other hand, she is holding beads of a rosary, and she was praying. That prayer was not audible, inaudible. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. In that old age, she is leading her life with peace and contentment. Children, this is very important. That is in our life. In our life, we should be very, very peace of mind. When we have that peace of mind, when we lead our life in a good manner. So, and also we have to be very satisfied with our what we are getting. So, too much expectations may lead you to suffer, worry, and forgetting all joys of the particular time. So, it's better that is we should have to be in a state of mind that contentment. We should feel satisfaction what we are getting in life instead of worrying, instead of thinking too much. So, like that, Arthur's grandmother was breathing peace and contentment. So life was in a good condition, no worry, and she was praying with her beads of rosary. Okay. My grandmother, next paragraph, children. My grandmother and I were good friends. Usually, if it is a grandmother is there, grandmother and grandchildren always become friends. So just like that, the author and his grandmother was both good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. So nowadays we are missing our grandparents. So here in this third paragraph, the author was left with the grandmother where their parents went to live in the city, and author and grandmother spent a lot of time, years together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. So, usually grandmother is going to be waking him, and she used to bath him and dress him, and also she wanted to listen to her prayer. She wanted to listen to the prayer and also get to know the thing that's saying songs or prayer by heart. I listened. So the author going to listen that prayer because I loved her voice. So author wants to hear because the author loved her voice, grandmother's voice, but never bothered to learn it. Never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate. So when he was not learning writing, then grandmother used to get a wooden slate which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk. A tiny earthen ink pot and a red pen. Tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. So by firstly, grandmother is going to be making the author to learn all those prayers. That is, she is going to get a wooden slate with yellow chalk and also earthen ink pot and red pen. So altogether she bundled them, and it is going to be handed over to the author. After a breakfast of thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it. So after that, first prayer, bathing. After that prayer, some of the prayer is going to be by heart, listening to the grandmother. Then breakfast of a stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it. We went to school. So after that, eating breakfast, they are going to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. So grandmother is going to take the author to the school along with them. She is also going to be carrying several stale chapatis, fresh chapatis for the dogs, village dogs on the way. So where they are going on the way, they are going to, the grandmother is going to be feeding those village dogs with the chapatis. Okay, so the grandmother was so what do you call calm, peaceful and untroubled personality, that what the author observed in her. Okay, so they are going to the school. That is, the author was taken to school by the grandmother. So next paragraph. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and the morning prayer, while the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus. My grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. So the school was also decided at the temple. So temple and school are attached together. So where author is going to be attending the class in the school, and the grandmother is going to be sitting in the temple and observing the scriptures, writings which are wrote on the temple, and also in the veranda singing the alphabet and also prayer in a chorus. So after that, they are coming back together to the home. You would walk back together. So when the author is in the school, she used to sit in the temple, and both together coming back from the school. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. So coming back, those village dogs which they have put chapatis, they are also going to accompany the grandmother and the author. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw to them. So on going and returning, grandmother is going to be feeding the dogs with the chapatis. So like this, the routine work is going to taking place at that school days. That is, the author is going to be remembering all those days and experiences with the grandmother. So most of all of us, we are not getting that type of experience, I think so. So this is the best days of our life. Okay, children. So fifth paragraph. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. That was a turning point in our friendship. After a couple of years later, Arthur's parents want to bring back to him to the city. So where he was settled with the grandmother, then their parents also turning up them. That is, they called for the Arthur and also the grandmother to the city. That was the turning point in our friendship. Why it is a turning point, it is mentioned. Let us know, let me know, or we are going to discuss. So we are going to learn about why it is referred as a turning point, what is going to be happen to them, the lifestyle, where they are leading in the village and what happened when they came to the city, that we are going to discuss. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. Why it is called turning point? So here in city they are going to be taking rest in separate rooms, where in village they are going to staying with together, where grandmother and he is going to rest in separate rooms. And here in city grandmother is not going to accompany him, where in village he was accompanied with the grandmother. So here I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. So when they returned to city and they are going to live with the father and mother, that is Aka's father and mother, he used to go for an English medium school, English school in a motor bus, and he was not going to observe any dogs in the streets. At that time, the grandmother allowed in the house, she is going to feeding the sparrows in the courtyard of the city house. So the compound of the wall, the compound of the house, she is going to feed the sparrows. So this is the life that some changes has been observed by the author when they are living in village with the grandmother, when they came to city and started living with the father and mother. So this is about the fifth paragraph. Children, we will stop here. In the next period we will discuss the sixth paragraph onwards. I think you are understanding the lines. So if any doubts, you can clarify with me and read out the lesson, children. Thank you. Take care. Bye, children.